Today in Woburn. I'm your host, Samantha Stone, back on Zoom this week, and excited because we have lots of fabulous guests with us today. We're going to talk about all kinds of things affecting the city. First up, we have our new city clerk, Lindsay Higgins, who's with us. And you are, of course, Lindsay, a familiar face to us. We definitely miss you on city council, but we're so pleased that you stayed in the city with us, and the city clerk job is so critical to us. How's the transition going for you?
Well, it's great. It's fun to see the other side of aspects. So obviously I saw a lot of aspects of the city council, but the behind the scenes, the day-to-day activity, there's a lot that goes on at the clerk's office, not even just with city council, with the whole city in general. So I'm glad I get to see the side of the office and the groundwork from, A to Z. I get to see it all now. So
that's great. Any surprises, things that you weren't expecting?
I'm sure little things up every day come up that I didn't expect, but that's part of the process when having an office that faces to the public in general. So
awesome. Well, we're so glad that they're. I have to plead ignorance. I'm really familiar with the city clerk's office from personal interactions I've had in terms of getting something addressed or registering to vote and things like that. But it's a really broad set of responsibilities. Tell us a little bit, just for those folks like myself who don't understand all the work that happens in the office.
Sure. So obviously you mentioned elections. We are the office where you register to vote. I am the chief elections official in Woburn. So we handle all the elections. I'm also the clerk of the Board of Registrar of Voters. In order to be the city clerk, you have to be a registered voter in Woburn because you are a member of that Board of Registrar of Voters. Also vitals, people come in here all the time for birth certificates, death certificates, marriage certificates. People also come in to fill out marriage intentions so that they can get married. Everything kind of comes through this office. Obviously, you saw Bill Campbell a lot at the city council meetings. Our city clerk is the clerk of the city council as well, traffic commission, and so, as well as some boards.
Yeah, so just a few things to keep.
Yeah, there's always something coming up.
Right. Tell us, you have staff who works in the office with you and keeps everything running. Tell us a little bit about the roles that are there.
Sure. We have currently we have 4 of the staff members here, and they did an excellent job, not only through the transition between myself and Bill Campbell, but also, last year in general, the office was very busy. City Hall in general for Woburn was one of the only ones around that were open, so a lot of people kept coming to our office to do marriage intentions or have civil or marriage intentions or have the JP marry them. So everyone kind of has their own little niche. So we have an assistant clerk who kind of handles the roles when I'm out or everything I can do. She also handles business licenses. We have also the clerk of committees who handles a lot of the, Board of Appeals, city council committee meetings, as well as the licensing commission. So he kind of does what I do for the city council for those other boards. We also have people that do the marriage licenses, the birth certificates, the vitals. And then we also have another person that handles pretty much day-to-day activities with the census and election data as well.
So I was at the City Hall on Friday for the gun violence proclamation, which was a lovely thing for the city to support. And there was a wedding happening at the same time, and it never dawned on me that someone would get married. It was lovely and very sweet. You could just see how happy they were, and probably how much they wished I was a little bit quieter because they didn't realize what was happening at first. So apologies to anybody who might have heard my loud booming voice. As soon as I found out, we got a little quieter. How often do weddings happening at City Hall? Is that something regular or just a kind of an unusual occurrence?
Well, right now it's kind of wedding season, like now and in the fall, it's kind of the wedding season. So like I said, with us being open and allowing the community to have weddings here, there's been about approximate 20 or so, a little bit more than 20 maybe weddings happening here currently at City Hall. But we've also done like about 100 intentions and about 74 licenses we've issued. So it's already been a busy season.
Okay, I have to ask a dumb question, but I'm going to ask it. I'm sure I'm not the only. What does a wedding intention mean? So
before you can get married in Massachusetts, you actually have to fill out some paperwork with your significant other when you come in. So you have to, you basically fill out the license, the application itself, and it asks you questions about yourself, what you think your parents, so that we can identify you for later generations. But you have a 3-day hold. So say for instance, you came in on a Thursday, you'd have to wait till Monday to come pick it up.
Okay.
So you have the 3-day hold. So then once you come after that 3-day hold, you come in and then you can pick up the license and you can have 60 days to have that ceremony.
I remember getting my wedding license when I was engaged many moons ago, over 20 years ago. So I didn't remember that specific process. So thanks for refreshing my memory. Really, the last thing I wanted to chat with you about today, Lindsay, is we have upcoming elections coming this year, which will be very active. Last year, we had a lot of modifications due to COVID. We had extra proactive mail-in voting forms going out and such. Do we have a sense of what things will look like this fall?
So as of right, generally at the year after the presidential election, it's a municipal election, and the voting tends to drop off a lot. More people vote for the president election than I hate to say for mayoral candidates.
We're gonna break that. We're gonna break that. I'm determined.
So last year we actually had we always have the absentee voting. So absentee voting is always available for those who can't vote in person. So you have to fill out an application and then you mail it in and we can get you the ballot. But then last year we had early voting in two aspects. We had in-person early voting and we also had mail-in early voting. Those, as of right now, those will not be available for the municipal election coming forward.
Okay. So if you are not able to be here for any reason, make sure you get an absentee ballot.
Correct. And all that information is right on the city's website. And there's also links that will take you to the state website. There could be a potential if anything changes between now and then, obviously, if the state legislature passes some things. But just keep checking back on the city's website. If under the clerk's page is an absentee, under elections is an absentee voting click through.
Great. Thank you for that. I myself have used that a couple of times. I have college students in my family who have used that a couple of times. So it's relatively painless process.
I would always, when I was on the other side of things, when I was campaigning, I would always direct people to the city clerk's website because it pretty much, if it doesn't have the information, it has a click-through link that you can get to the Secretary of State's website as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and catching up a little bit in your new position. I know you've got to run, but I'm so grateful for your time. And I'm sure as we get closer to election cycles, I might ask you to come back and catch us up again on some of the details.
Of course, anytime. And if anyone ever needs any questions, we're here all the time. And feel free to email us. All our contact information is on the city site.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lindsay.
Thank you, everybody.
Awesome. Scott, thanks for joining us today again, and wanted to catch up with you as well. Appreciate it. I was really happy to see you on Friday. We had the gun violence proclamation reading and a nice little group of folks who were out on the City Hall steps there. Yeah,
that was nice, and it was a good event, and good advocacy for a cause that really needs, can never get enough attention. It's something needs to be done, and we know in Massachusetts that they've done great things in the state legislature about, gun violence, and done. You can always do more, but they've gone above and beyond what a lot of states have done. We just need some relief on the national level.
Yeah, I agree. And, we were reminded, unfortunately, this week about gun violence. There was a police shooting responding to an incident. And
Braintree, that's right.
Yeah. Luckily not in Woburn, but unfortunate. And I believe both officers survived, but the police dog perhaps did not, if I remember.
No, that's right.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about police. I had a lot of questions. So we know we had budgeting meetings over the last little bit in City Council, and the police chief made kind of an impassioned plea to have some more staff. And so I had a few folks reach out and ask questions to just kind of ask you about it. And we know that budgets this year are tight. We've got a recovery year for us, but wanted to just understand from your perspective, how you're feeling about things, and anything that we could do as a community to help support the police department in the interim.
I think the chief, I obviously I meet with the chief on a daily basis, and I think his concern is not to say that this is, he's looking forward to the future and saying, look, you've got these developments coming, and we're going to need something, and we're all in agreement with that. But right now, and I'm looking at right now, the budget and what we can do. We don't have, there's nothing we have Emery Flats, which was 200 units. That's up by the Marriott on Presidential Way. Now, one of the things we look at is how many calls is that generating, and right now it's generating nothing.
Okay.
So it's not, we know that over the next 4 or 5 years, if everything does get built, as they're saying, we're going to have more units, and then we'll be looking at that and saying, what are we going to do? But right now, the chief's I think the chief's reason for going on was saying, look, you need to be looking at that, and he knows we are looking at that. Because he
just knows, Scott, it's going to take you a few years to get the money out of you, right? So he's working.
No.
I'm giving you a hard time. I'm teasing.
No, we want to look at public safety is really important. We support the police department and the fire department, and that's that's evident by what we've done with capital and some of the things that you see happening now. And the budget. When I look at the budget, I look at the entire budget, and with the police. We have development, some of the development that, we're not in favor of some of the development, and we've made changes to try to rein in the some of the residential development that's going or being planned on the Commerce Way. And those, we've got to the point where we did a housing production plan so we could protect ourselves from 40B, which was a very effective tool. And it's worked, and we've tried to put some of the housing on transit oriented, which is what the governor's been pushing. So, we know we've got development. We know that we need to look at it and see what type of call volume that generates, and it will, eventually as the city grows. And one of the things I do say is that when you look back and you read some of the papers, you look back in the past, and they, at one point back in the 80s, they were predicting that by the year 2000, our population would be 60,000, and it's nowhere near that. Sometimes people move. You get more people coming in, more people going out. But we are definitely concerned with, the development, and we're looking at that, and we'll be monitoring the call volume and looking to adjust as needed. But right now, like for this budget, there won't be at this point. There's no change in the budget as far as manpower for the police or the fire, for that matter.
So I know that one of the things that people respond to a lot, these aren't like the serious crime-oriented calls, but traffic, right, is a challenge for us. And one of the concerns around new developments is, adding more traffic to our streets, and particularly in some areas that are very congested. Have we been thinking about for next year, or is there any group that's looking at more in-city public transportation that might take some of the cars off the road, or at least reduce the number of growth?
Well, that one of the things we talk about, Samantha, and there is, Woburn is a very attractive city to come to. That is a good thing. I mean, some cities and towns do not have development. Are we happy with, houses being knocked down, new ones built? I mean, yeah, it increases the value. But where you're seeing right now, where we see the development, it's considered transit oriented, right? So you've got the development around the mall. You've got another development down at the old Fitzgerald Tile. You've got 2 new proposals that are within walking distance of the train station. So those are considered smart development. I know people, will say, hey, we don't want any more development. And yeah, we tried as well to reduce the ability to build some of those sites, but the smart development they're talking about, ideally it's around a train station. So you're hoping these are the people who are, they're commuters, that they commute into Boston and they come back. As far as, getting people from the train station out to the businesses, the so-called last mile, where, people come in and commute. We are working on that with, there's a group called the M3, the Middlesex 3. So we've been working with them on those, transportation. So it's something we're working on.
Yeah, I'd love to see. I mean, even myself, sometimes I'll walk around. You've seen me do that, but there are distances within Woburn that are too far for me to walk. So it's great to know if there are some more local transportation options. Awesome. A couple of good news things that are coming on. I think we talked about this briefly, but Halloween parade is definitely a go this year. I understand, right? So
yes,
perfect.
I did meet with the parade chairman last week, and they're looking to do something a little bit scaled down, but they're geared up to do it. It's going to cost, they need to raise some money. So I know that the Woburn, Woburn businesses, Woburn residents, they've been very generous to the cause, and we're looking forward to a great parade season.
We love it. And will it be the last Sunday in October like it usually is?
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. Love it.
Yeah.
And then the other little quick city thing I wanted to mention was the Clap Park, I guess is what it's called, splash pad is open and is staying open during the week, even though the full hours aren't available because it's so hot.
Yeah.
Want to make sure people knew about that. And
that's good. People love that. Good amenity.
Good. Anything else going in the city before I bring Matt Crowley up and we're going to talk schools, but anything else going on you want me to make sure we mention?
No, other than, next week is the budget hearings will close next week. And then the city council will, make their decisions. If they want to make any more revisions to the budget, they can. If they felt they wanted to add money to the schools, they could do that as well. There's a special procedure they could do for that. But next week we'll close the budget, and then we'll start moving towards capital, which is important. And then we also have a lot to do with the ARPA funds. So it's all on the agenda.
What's the ARPA fund?
So that's the American Rescue.
Thank you.
The American Rescue Plan funds. Yeah.
I don't know why that acronym didn't stick in my head today.
Yeah. ARPA.
I kept thinking AARP, and I knew that's not what you were talking about.
No, not yet. Although that's coming up. Oh.
I'm getting dangerously close. Thank you, Scott, for your time.
Thank you.
Really
okay. Bye-bye.
Welcome
All right.
back. I know this is the end of a very hot school day, coming off of a very hot graduation yesterday. Tell us how graduation went.
Yeah, graduation is really one of the best events that we do. And I know it's the high school graduation, but I really think about it as a community graduation because the majority of our kids have gone from the elementary to the middle to the high school. So, it's a special day. We graduated over 300 students. Yes, was it hot? Absolutely. There were no medical emergencies. We were mindful of the heat, and I think we were finished with diplomas in less than an hour and 45 minutes. So, the students earn the right to cross the stage and get their diploma. The parents want to see that. They were able to be there. It's very nice that the COVID restrictions allowed for as many people to be there as possible. I also want to highlight the Public Media Center because I know it was live streamed as well. And so, that I think last July when we did graduation, it was live streamed. It might have been the first event that was live streamed. So as it relates to silver linings, the ability for people to watch, grandparents that it might have been too hot or they're not local, it really has kind of transformed the way that people are able to engage. And so, yesterday was terrific. And Principal Callahan does a great job organizing. She works obviously with the first responders in the city to make sure that everyone's safe. The kids were awesome. And it was just a great event. And so it's really a tribute to everyone's hard work this year, for sure.
Yeah. Probably no one more was looking forward to sitting in hot, uncomfortable stands in the crowd this year because of not being able to last year, right? We really grown to appreciate it. And I know we talked, I talked to Jessica Callahan last week, 2 weeks ago, and she shared a whole bunch of senior activities that are going on, which is great. Typically, we're nearing the time of year where we have field days and school parties and things, which under COVID restrictions, I'm sure are a challenge. Now that we have a little bit of lifting of some things, what kind of fun end of year activities might students expect?
So I think we're going to have modified type field days. The restrictions weren't lifted until a week or two ago. So it's kind of hard to plan, the full event in such a short amount of time. I know at the elementary schools, they're doing, as I said, modified field days, more by class. In every school, as you probably well know, like the Reeves has plenty of outdoor space, so they can do more than, say, the Linscott. So that each school is going to have to handle it slightly differently. But I know that the health and physical education teachers are excited, and they've done a lot of planning and the principals to kind of have some kind of an end of year celebration. And the 5th grade celebrations will happen. So that's also nice to know, as opposed to last year, when everything was an unknown. And so it's nice to honor the transitions that are happening.
I won't ever pull this up because my children would never speak to me again, but I have a couple of little video snippets from 5th grade graduation dance at the end of the ceremony, and they're getting their grooves on, and it is super fun to watch. So love to hear that the kids can do something, right? That's a really joyous time. So I love that. I want to talk a little bit about, just real quickly, federal funding. So we have been graced with a significant amount of federal funding to do some special programs to help us get excited about next year, fund some new curriculum, fund a whole bunch of new positions. I'm sure that means that if you thought you were going to slow down this summer, Matt, sorry, not going to happen because you're going to be hiring all summer. But tell us a little bit about what great things are happening there. I know that the school committee has been great about being super transparent for folks who've been able to dial into those meetings, but just for those of us who haven't been able to attend them all, kind of a quick update.
Yeah, sure. So to your point, that there is a significant amount of money coming from the federal government in the form of ESSER money. That's the grants and the ARP that Mayor Galvin alluded to, millions of dollars. And so we're going to be able to spend approximately $1.2 million on elementary and middle school reading and math curriculums. That would take years for us to do, and we're able to do it now. And I use the term transformative. It's generational. To be able to acquire these things for our students is really remarkable. And I'm so excited about those updates that we're able to provide. The reality is there's we have intervention that will occur next year. So we have multiple interventionists. Our high needs population, our EL students, we're going to be hiring EL teachers so that all of our kids get the services that they deserve. We're expanding the EL position, the coordinator, to a full-time position, so that again the services are met, and that there's coordination among all of our 10 schools. Our special ed students, also we're investing in some teachers there to better support our students at all levels. You're right, there's a lot.
I won't hold you to if you missed anything, Matt. I do want to ask you a question.
I know I did.
Yeah, right, we guarantee you did. But that's a good thing, right? Like, that's incredible to be in a position where we have this, to your point, is we're not doing little incremental change. We're making a pretty big sweeping change, and we're providing the staff to help us take advantage of that, which is probably as important as the curriculum pieces. Now, my parents were educators and my sister's an educator, so I have a small sense about when we say we're getting a new curriculum, what that might mean, but I think a lot of people don't actually know what that means. So maybe you could just spend just a moment, talking about when we say that, what are the kinds of things the school is purchasing?
Sure. So I'll give you a macro view of it. For a future show, I'd recommend having some of the curriculum people join. Specifically at the elementary level, we're buying a new reading program. And so really what that will allow, it's the first time in over 20 years that we've been able to purchase a reading program. And oftentimes you would stagger it because you wouldn't be able to afford it. It's about $800,000. And so you'd stagger it over the course of a number of years, and people would, students would be exposed to it in a phased approach. And we're able to do that, like I said, because of the additional stimulus money. And really what it's going to allow people, it's differentiated reading and allow teachers to give flexibility for students, that read at different levels and support that they need to get the kids to where they should be, or to keep achieving beyond where they are. And so at the middle school, we're investing in a math and reading program as well. And some of the math is an online component to, again, try to update our curriculum so that by the time the students get to ninth grade, they've been exposed to a high quality, rigorous curriculum that, the high school does a great job, as you know, and as we saw yesterday. But, we want to make sure that our students are prepared from one grade to the next. And so these curricular purchases I had no idea that, a reading curriculum was $800,000. When I first heard that number, I almost fell over. But to know that we had that ability and we could make that choice, and we did, I think speaks volumes to the leadership, the diverse text that it's going to offer our students. It's really, again, it's sort of a generational opportunity to be able to do this. So it's exciting.
I love it. It's also a tremendous amount of work, I imagine, for teachers to get up to speed about the new curriculum and such, and adjust lesson plans and all the things. And coming off the year we had, this probably seems like a much easier adjustment, perhaps, than the kinds of adjustments we've had to make this past year. But what are some of the things we're doing to readying the teachers to take advantage of this awesome new curriculum?
Yeah, so it's a good question. And before I forget, one of the things, I'll circle back to the teacher question. This summer, we're offering, with the stimulus money, free summer school programming to our summer enrichment programming. So kindergarten through 12th grade. And it's going to be at the Malcolm White for the elementary students, and the high school for the upper grades. We're also partnering with the YMCA to run a Power Scholars program at the Reeves Elementary School, and our extended year program for the special ed students will be at the Shamrock. But again, we're offering this at no cost to our students, including transportation. And so I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that, because we're aware that it's been a tough year. When you said tough year, that's what made me think about it. Parents have been great. We're also offering 2 weeks of virtual tutoring in August for families. So we're trying to do everything we can to support our students. And when you said tough year and what are we doing with teachers, I have to say our teachers have been incredible throughout the pandemic, and they've learned so much. With technology, here we are on Zoom, right? We're doing Google Meets and Google Classrooms and all kinds of advancements. But as awesome as our staff has been, people are tired. And, I tell you that because we're staffing up for the summer. But I think our plan as it relates to professional development is we have there's 4 days. The teacher's last day is June 25th. 4 days of light professional development during that time after students leave. We will offer some voluntary professional development over the summer. And then we're going to sort of take a phased approach to the curriculum. We're not expecting people to, September 9th to be full in. So we want to be thoughtful and respectful of how we do this. It's too important to kind of try to jam it down people's throats. Despite there is urgency to do it, but I think that, as I said, the staff have been amazing, and so we want to be respectful of their time and their energy.
Yeah, awesome. So September 9th is our official first day of school for students next year, correct?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
That's great. Matt, thank you so much for joining me. I know that it's been a long, long, long year, and so many people have been instrumental in making it happen, you included, and we're almost at the finish line. And now we have lots of new change, but really positive new change that's coming. Very last little question for you before I let you go. I think I already said that, but I have another question, so I'm going to say it again. So one of the things that we've learned, as you pointed out, was that we adapted technology in really new ways this past year. We will not have a virtual school instruction like we did this year, next school year, but will we be using that technology in any way in terms of snow days or project collaboration or guest speakers or like, somebody's home with an injury, things that, are there ways that we're going to be able to use those new skills and technologies that we've invested in?
So the quick answer is I certainly hope so. Let's take advantage of the crisis and what we learned. Some of the things that you just alluded to, I'll add on. We've had great parent-teacher conferences or 504 meetings. It's allowed families access. They can be at work and get onto a screen and have conversations about their kids. And so I want to make sure that we carry over a lot of what we learned. We've had great grade level meetings. So all the second grade teachers in Woburn will be on a meet at the same time. There's things that we want to make sure that we try to maintain that are working for our staff and for our families. And so what people have asked about snow days, it's ironic on a 95-degree day.
How can I even be thinking about snow right now?
But that's a state decision. And so DESE's going to have to tell us what we can do on that. I think we've proven that we can do anything here in Woburn. But the state did have a policy prior to the pandemic. We call them blizzard bags,
okay.
But some districts were opting in to do the remote days. But there was question about equity, specifically around access and special education. So I'm not sure what the state's going to decide. If we can continue, I think we should take advantage of what we learned, absolutely. And we will in a variety of different ways. So I hope that answered your question.
It does, and I thought the parent conferences and things, that was a really good example of a way, that to involve folks. I know I've personally become much more active in participating in city meetings and even in some of my adult children's healthcare conversations and things, because we have this easy access now that we didn't have before. So that's a wonderful reminder of, I didn't even think about that as a benefit.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing better than being in person with each other, but for access and efficiency and the fact that we were all forced to learn this new technology really helps.
Yeah,
so.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Matt. I know we're at the end of your day. We really appreciate it. And as always, excited to see the last few days of school and all the energy that comes with that.
Me too.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, welcome, Ellen Crowley. So Ellen, as many of you know, you're familiar with her from her role as school committee, but we're not going to talk about that at all today. We're going to talk about
not one word.
Well, I'm sure schools might come up. I just might. But we're going to chat with you today about your candidacy for mayor. Very excited to have you here in this new capacity.
Yes. I guess I'll announce again that I am a candidate for mayor at the November 2nd, 2021 election. And it took a lot of thought and a lot of decision making, but with my family, I have my full family to support me, and I decided that it was time. Why am I running?
Well, why now, right? So you've served the community in a lot of important ways in a lot of years, and we're grateful for that. This is a really new and different way of serving the community, and we'd love to just sort of understand why now is the what's inspired you to do it now.
Well, I have been serving the city for about 8 years as school committee member. I've been chair 3 times, and I've been there for the most crucial. I shouldn't say that. The last 8 years, there have been some crucial decision making. I don't want to take away from Dr. Wells or Pat Chisholm or Mike Mulrennan. But I've been there through some of the most toughest things, and I think that I have the right skill set, the knowledge, the experience to run for mayor. And I think I'd be an excellent mayor. On the other side, I think the city needs a change. I think we are running into a bit of a status quo, and things need to be revitalized, and I will be the right person to do that. So that's why I'm running, for the benefit of the city. I think that I'm the right person.
Love it. Let's talk about your highest priority. So one of the challenges of course, being a mayor is that it's a lot, right? The whole city,
Yes.
and lots of departments and needs and residents and community. What are some of the things that will be highest priority for you?
The first thing that we have, well, let me start with the very first thing that I'm going to do is get into City Hall and meet all the people that work there, and just start to breed a sense of gratitude, really bring the office together and form an atmosphere of collaboration, and let people know that there's going to be a different kind of office, and really get to know people. So that will be absolutely priority number one, is really acknowledging the work that the people at City Hall do every day. And that could be done, within a week. Then we will move on to the strategic visioning phase. Very similar to what the Woburn Public Schools did. I really want to lead a strategic visioning process where every department that works for the city, especially the community-based ones, recreation, library, veterans department, senior center, will be invited to really think outside the box and think in a long-term 5-year plan. And in doing that, in the process of doing that, everybody will be invited, the leaders will be invited to really think outside the box and really think without the constraints of funding or anything like that, and really just try to expand and work with the talents that these people have, because most of them have been dedicating their entire careers to Woburn, and so they're experts in their respective fields, and they will be treated as experts. So through this process, running simultaneously to that will be, of course, reaching out to the residents. We will be using whatever means necessary to really gather data on how the residents see Woburn. And really, we're going to take all this raw data and form a unified vision for Woburn. Also, I mentioned the community-based programs because they have the entry point of the residents, but of course, safety, public safety is a number one priority, is mine as well. So I watched the city council meeting that you asked the mayor about, and I got the feeling that this was a now problem, it wasn't a shortage of police officers, it was a cusp of a shortage of police officers. And I did not, I feel comfortable with this at all. So this will be my priority. And I see this problem as a potential opportunity to look at hiring diverse officers and looking at the way, getting people that represent all the populations of Woburn onto the police force. I think this could be a tremendous opportunity. Additionally, diversifying the role of the police, meaning adding specialized people such as domestic violence advocates, sexual assault advocates, mental health people inside the police force as well, could really strengthen the police the police department, and offer a diverse amount of resources so that we're not just arresting people, we're offering, a more of a wider lens. But that doesn't take away the fact that we might have an officer shortage and it needs to be addressed immediately.
So,
yeah.
Sorry, please.
I have more.
Please, no, I love it.
Restoring the autonomy of the library is I don't, by the time I'm elected and sworn in, it's probably going to be a done deal. But I really want to reverse some of the actions taken by the mayor, in which he took over hiring and firing of the director. I think we need to delegate. So if it belongs to the mayor by the time I'm sworn in, I'll be delegating a lot of the authority to the board. And I will be helping the board run very informative public meetings so they have the pulse of the residents when they're overseeing the library. And I think that is exactly what the library should be doing, is responding to the population. And of course, the library will be involved in a strategic planning as well under my leadership. So we'll also be getting that fresh data. I'm blabbing, but we need to be
You're
Thank you.
inspiring. It's all good.
Okay. We need to be asking the question, what do our citizens want? What kind of programming would they like to see? And then responding to it. And again, the best part about doing a strategic vision for the city and allowing these experts to just think outside the box, opening up the windows and allowing fresh air to come in. What is the new vision of Woburn? It costs nothing to do this. It is free, and all it takes is somebody to just ask the question, where do you see this department in 5 years? And let's get excited again about expanding programs for seniors. Let's get excited about diversifying our recreation department for children of all abilities, of all languages, of all backgrounds. Let's go back and let's get excited about this. And we can move Woburn forward. And I'm truly excited for it.
Let's talk a little bit about, you talked about money, and that exercise is time, but not money.
Yes.
A lot of, we certainly have fiscal responsibilities and fiscal constraints, as every single city across the entire country does. When you look at, if you were elected mayor and you're looking at your philosophy around funding and financing and budgeting, what are some of the things that, your approach and how you're looking at balancing that with the needs of the community?
So fiscal responsibility means having a plan to spend the money, not just spending money, not just spending free cash and reacting to needs in the city. I mean, there are times we need to react to needs in the city, don't get me wrong, but we should be thinking long-term about expenditures. The pillar of Woburn is that we have a low property tax rate and a high-ish commercial tax rate. And I get that. And I understand that philosophy, and I will abide by it because it's been embedded in our culture for so long. But under my leadership, we will be looking at a long-term spending that is tied to the strategic plan. Mm-hmm. And so we will always understand. And by the way, when the public is presented with the budget, it will be tied to philosophies that the city is trying to follow. So it will be an open, transparent document saying, this is why we're hiring a social worker for the Council on Aging. But guess what? We got it from funding from a Title III grant, which is the Title III funds some elder services. And so that follows the strategic plan of increasing the services that the Council on Aging can provide. So to answer your question, fiscal responsibility is simply tying it to initiatives in the city, but of course, maintaining the tradition and the long established culture of having a low tax rate. And also, always look for grants. We need somebody like me because I have experience finding grants and writing grants and reporting to grants. So we just need to be open-minded and look for ways in which we can expand city services without charging the taxpayer, and look for grants like the Woburn Public Schools did. It's given to us by Congress, but you see what I mean. And I have to say that I am thrilled with this idea that as mayor, I'm actually going to participate, or I'm going to appear at school committee meetings during the budget building process. And if I had said that to myself 6 years ago, I would have been repulsed by this idea. But this is one of the best ideas that I have for the city, because you will have the mayor there to account for the spending of the city, and you'll be able to ask the mayor questions. And this will provide a unity of government that is going to be extremely important. And I'm very excited for this, because sometimes the school committee is lacking information about the spending limit until the last minute. But here, I will be there to cooperate and provide information to the school committee. And I think and that again, costs nothing, but it provides a beautiful unity of the city government.
Oh, I know that so many people in Woburn are familiar with you for your work on the school committee and other things, but you have a rich professional life outside and a profession of service. For those who aren't as familiar with it, tell us a little bit about some of your work and some of the things that you do, even just personally, that are relevant for us as residents and members of the community.
Well, obviously, the most profound job I have is I parent 2 children. I actually parent 3 children. 2 were born to me. 1 is a gift. And obviously, that is the rigorous job that I have. And that's taught me everything I need to know. But I'm a licensed attorney and I've been practicing legal aid since 2007. And I work with people that can't afford lawyers. And so it's a nonprofit organization. We represent folks in civil matters. So I help people through housing evictions. I help people get accommodations in public housing. I help people get public benefits that have been wrongly denied. I help children get IEP services. Anything that really impacts health and safety of folks, I pick up. Do a lot of domestic violence protection work, a lot of victim advocacy, survivor advocacy, and it's a hodgepodge of things. But what it brings to the mayorship is this dedication and understanding of vulnerable populations that will be essential to running a city that also has vulnerable population. And obviously I have a built-in understanding of the law. And so this will, be able to, this will be a huge asset to becoming mayor.
I love it. I have to ask this because I'm always curious as we get to know people in their professional capacity. What do you think the residents of Woburn, I mean, first of all, this may not be a fair question because some residents of Woburn grew up with you and probably know everything. But for those of us who are transplants or maybe didn't know you as well when you were younger, what might they be surprised to learn about you?
In high school, all right, this is the first thing that came to my mind. In high school, my senior year, I was voted best sense of humor.
I love that.
Yeah.
Not a lot of competition that year, Ellen. Is that what you're trying to tell us? Just kidding. I'm kidding.
No, yeah. And yeah, I think that's, but again, probably half of Woburn knows that because,
Yeah, because they went to school with you. Well, I will tell you that my husband always remembers you because at the lake you did a beautiful tree pose on our trampoline in the water. He was very impressed with your balance capabilities.
Yes,
so,
I'm a dedicated yoga practitioner too. So that's another thing people might not know, but I post pictures of myself doing yoga poses, so maybe they do.
I love it. That's awesome. So we are, your campaign is kicking off fairly recently.
Yes.
For those folks who want to learn more about the things that are important or really share what's important to them with you, do you have any activities coming up or what's the best way for them to connect with you to coordinate that?
So I will be having a breakout party probably in the fall due to COVID restrictions, and I want to have it inside. People have been reaching out to me mostly on Facebook. I have an email, ellen401801@gmail.com. And I also have a page on Facebook where I'm interacting with people that might have questions. I am going to get up and running some web pages. I'm going door to door and I am meeting people. Heard a lot from people and it's been like overwhelming. So I'm feeling extremely excited and optimistic.
Tell us a little bit, without going into any personal information, of course, but sort of in general, what are some of the patterns of feedback you're collecting about people, what they're loving about the city and where they feel challenges?
Well, I'm engaging with people about the schools, right? The public schools, and that's one of my, obviously, I mean, I mentioned in my priorities, but it speaks for itself. Working with Dr. Crowley has taught me so much about what exactly the city needs in order to support the schools. And so I'm just excited to move into the mayorship so I can do that. So I'm hearing a lot about the schools, the overcrowding of schools, which, we're always monitoring, that's always up there on a priority list. Capital improvements, I hear a lot about. One of the things that I share that I didn't mention as a priority, but it's sort of embedded in my thinking, is really beautifying Woburn. It's gut-wrenching when I see trash in Woburn on the ground, since we've had such a history around pollution in the city, and I have a hard time with that. So looking at the ways in which we can make the city beautiful, because that's what makes people feel good to live here. I don't hear, just so you know, I don't hear that I'm moving to Woburn because of the low property tax rate, but I am hearing that I would be willing to pay more in taxes if we had, better services in Woburn. So I'm taking that lens into consideration, hearing that, but mostly just we need to be heard. I feel like I'm not always heard. That's the main theme.
Well, I'm so grateful that you were able to spend some time. I'm sure we'll talk more as the campaign continues and learn more about your candidacy and such. I'm also hoping, that I get to moderate debate between you and Scott. It's like a little life dream of mine to be able to do that. So we'll see if that can happen. And like all things, I think contested elections are healthy for a community and allow us to explore new ideas and learn from each other. And so thank you for, sticking. This is not an easy move to make. And we as a community appreciate your transparency with us and glad to have you in the mix.
Thank you for having me. And I agree, the free exchange of ideas will only benefit the community. So this is a win for the community just to have somebody up there, expressing ideas about Woburn. I think it's going to be a fantastic opportunity.
I do have to ask, I think I should have probably asked at the beginning what is an obvious question. Should you be elected mayor, you will have to step down from your position as chair of the school committee. But yes, during the election cycle, there's no obligation to do that, correct? You'll continue to serve in that capacity?
Yes.
Good. I don't like to make assumptions, so thank you for...
No, thank you for asking. That's yeah, it happens. People run for election while they're also doing some other things. But, it's not like I'm going to be holding a mayor sign during school committee meetings, things like that. So
as your legal profession, we know you're
yes,
all the appropriate guidelines there. So. Mm-hmm. Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you again. And as always, Woburn, continue to take good care of each other.
Thank you.